You're listening to another episode of the Black Wealth Effect podcast. I'm your host, Mario. As always, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment for our show so we can keep bringing you this great content. Our guest this week is Andy. Andy, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mario. Really pleased to be part of the show today, and I was looking forward to that. But thanks for bringing me in.
Yeah, it's always great having another investor on from the Wealth Genius community. And so definitely excited to learn about your story and for you to share your experiences with our listeners.
Yeah, so yeah, but it's gonna be a pleasure for me to go over all of that. I've been investing for about three and a half years now with the Wealth Genius community, and it's been an amazing experience for me. And like when I was looking at the time, like to get involved in the real estate, we thought it was like an environment that was hard to get into, that you needed a lot of money. So we took a lot of time before we started to even consider investing in real estate. But because we thought we needed a lot of money, so we built a lot of business. But after going into couple seminar, we started understanding that there was different ways to get involved, and we started seeking for education. But when we started, we were really green. We were really green when we started. But today we're able to build a beautiful portfolio, and the portfolio is keep on growing. It's just been an amazing ride for us, you know.
That's awesome. And we're gonna unpack your story a little bit later on in the conversation. But before we delve into that piece, to start, like for our listeners who may not know a ton about your background or your story, like what's like a unique fact about yourself that you'd like to share with our listeners?
But I'm from an Asian background. I grew up in Montreal. I've been in Ottawa for the last a little bit over 6 years now, and one of the things that I always had that big ambition to build something big, generational wealth, you know, and like I, it was hard for me at school because as much as I was smart, but I was really distracted. I was really distracted. So the
Real.
moment I would catch the subject, I get distracted. I distract the other kid. So I was always considered like kind of like a problem child, because I talk a lot and I wouldn't follow anymore because I catch the subject. So I always were distracted, and I kind of knew after a while that maybe that wasn't the road for me, school, like the educational system. So
Mhm.
from when I was young, I started looking at different ways and different businesses. I was always interested in an entrepreneurship, you know.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, what else did I say? Yeah, and I'm an electrician from trade, and yeah, me and my wife as well has a really good entrepreneurship mindset. So that side we're able to grow up together, and it's been great. Like we've been growing our business, and everything's been going well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so like you touched on trades. And so like obviously with any like renovation project, whether it's like for your rental property or like if you're doing a flip as an example, like there are obviously like numerous trades involved.
hmm
And so like how is for you, like how is being like an electrician by trade, like how has that impacted how you approach renovating properties like within your portfolio? Like do you manage your own like electrical updates or maintenance for a project? Like how do you typically tackle that?
Definitely. So the fact that I'm an electrician, I don't need to go seek advice or even any electrical contractor to do my work. So I do all my own type of work, and that's one of the trade, but I've been in different trade throughout my life. Right now, I'm 43 years old, and I've been in the construction world. I would say almost for at least 20 years, around 20 years at least. That I've been around the
Wow.
construction world. So I've studied in flooring. I did some carpentry. I did some electrical, but the electrical is the one that really kind of I got attached to. I really like that part, but I have a lot of experience in construction in general, so I'm able to do a lot of my own stuff. But in general, I just manage most of my work, and sometimes, because we're trying to build a business, and it's really demanding. Sometimes I will seek some different type of contractors more lately, so I can it helps me concentrate on other stuff. But when it comes to electricity, I usually do my own electricity.
Nice. And like, are there any like common missteps or mistakes that most investors make, like as it relates to like doing electrical work for projects, just based on your experience?
I would think like one of the mistake I see a lot. Sometimes people want to go and go save money to do their work, and they have some renovation that they need to do, and they'll get some guys that's probably not certified electrical person, and that's one of the biggest mistake I can see that for me I see, because when I go after them I can see the type of mistake. And one of the thing that I always say, like, there's some trade that you want to have the trade guys doing it, like plumbing, electrical, because those are the thing like that could really kill a deal. Like water and fire, they're the two things that you want to avoid in a property. So you want those
Yeah.
things to be done well. So I would say that those are the big mistakes. When I pass after, I see a lot of situation where it's a little bit dangerous the way that the work was done, and I always suggest someone that that's thinking about doing renovation, especially on the electrical side, to take a trade person, or on the plumbing side to go for a trade person as well.
Hmm. Cheap is expensive, right? Or it can definitely.
Long term it becomes expensive.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and so, like, obviously, like, becoming, like, a master at anything, takes time, and there are firsts and mistakes along the way. Like,
Mhm.
I know you touched on it, at the beginning of our conversation a little bit, but can you just share, like, what inspired you to get into real estate investing, and maybe walk us through your first deal at a high level?
Yeah, so real estate, like since I was young, like I kind of my parents had like a duplex, and I could see what the duplex was doing for them, and I kind of knew that, wow, like if I was in a position where I could own some duplexes. At the time I was young, so I had a smaller mindset, but if I was at a place where I could own some duplexes and have multiple ones that brings me money in, I was saying that I'd kind of be already like financially free. And I was like always had that mindset about freedom, like waking up in the morning. Since I was in the electrical trade, I had to wake up at 5 in the morning, and it was always hard. And I was like, man, what am I doing? Why do I do that? There must be something else. And so I always thought that the real estate was a good vehicle to kind of create the financial freedom. It's just that I was young, I just didn't know how to get there, and I had a small
Mhm.
mindset. Like my parents always talking about a house, so I would look at people around me, they had a house or a duplex or not more than that. I never knew who owned those buildings that I used to see. So eventually, like I told you, I started getting into seminar to try to start to understand how to get into real estate, and they start talking about different concepts that like OPM, OPT, and starting to open my eyes that there was a possibility for me to get in. uh, even though I thought that you needed a lot of money, and it made it possible for me. So eventually, I started seeking for education. Me and my wife, we started seeking for education, and we've started like getting into different group, different real estate group. Start learning. Most of the groups, like, they were kind of like giving you the content in video, and you would learn through watching videos. But the one thing I felt always, that I was left alone. But I was hungry, but I just felt I didn't have that confidence, someone to support me in my path. But I would watch the video, try to learn as much, and try to implement what I was learning. And I remember one time we were trying to make a deal, and wanted to offer kind of a VTB event to take back to the seller. And my wife, which she wanted to understand it well in a way that she could present it to the seller, so she started listening to videos, and we came across the Wealth Genius owner Alfonso Quadra, that had a video that explained the VTB. The way that he explained it was so clear to her. She was able to make a 2-page proposal, present it to the seller, and the seller did accept the VTB at the time. But at the end of the video, he did left his email address and said that he was from Ottawa. So she reached out to him, and we got to meet with him eventually, and that's when we start learning about the fact that he had a real estate community, but the way that he was teaching was a little bit different. It was on a one-on-one type of coaching, and it was more action oriented, and that really resonated with me. So we decided to join with them. And when we started like that, within a month and a half, we had more result than we had in a year and a half. And also, what he did is that he expanded our mindset, because we were thinking really small at the time. We couldn't even look past a triplex, because for us it wasn't attainable. So he kind of expanded our mind and made us understand how it's the same effort to get a bigger asset than to get a smaller asset. So from the start, we start looking at bigger asset, and within 10 months, we were able to buy our first eightplex, and that eightplex has been doing really well for us. We bought it at 880, and within 9 months, it appraised at 1.6 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how we got started, and yeah, we got that bite, and since then we've been like just developing, and we're now at 44. We now own 44 units and still growing a portfolio.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Thanks.
And like, what was the main thing that you learned just going through that experience? Like, I know you talked about obviously networking, growing your knowledge, totally changed your perspective. Like,
Mhm.
what else did you learn just going through that?
But the one thing that helped us grow like this, I would say, it was being uncomfortable. Like, since he was so oriented on action, a lot of the thing that I would been asked to do, I didn't isn't thing that I've never done, so it was not comfortable for me. But since I was put out there and I was putting the action, I had to be a little bit uncomfortable, and I got uncomfortable so many times that I started becoming comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's what think I would attribute the success to. It's all the things that was the hardest to do, that I didn't want to do, but I still did. This is the thing that helped me get where I am today. And I
Mhm.
would say a lot of people are learning, and when it gets uncomfortable, they kind of slow down, and they don't want to do it, and the fear gets to them. But the success is on the other side of fear, and by us still taking the action, getting uncomfortable, like a lot of situation that I would get into, I would be sweating before I do them, and I
Yeah.
walk around and do 1,000 step back and forth, but I just do it because I told myself, like, what would my coach do? What would he do? Probably do it. So who am I to say that I'm not going to do it? I know that's what I need to do, so I would just do it and realize that, oh, it's not as bad as I as I thought. It was just in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that you say that, right? Like you mentioned, like being comfortable, like with being uncomfortable. And I
Hmm.
think like with any taking on any new endeavor, any new business, like that has to be a constant. And that has to be something that
Exactly.
you condition yourself with. So I love
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. Now I being uncomfortable, like it's just normal for me, and I know that when a situation like this happens where it's uncomfortable and I've done, I just dive into it because I know that's the that's the step I have to take.
Yeah,
I don't think twice now.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, like, I know you're someone that obviously wears like multiple hats for your various businesses, and so like we talked about like some of your trade background. I also know that like you run like your own property management company as well.
Yes.
Um, can you talk about like any advice or tips that you would give a new investor maybe considering leveraging property management services? And like, what are the things that they should be asking for or thinking about as they're vetting prospective property management companies?
Yeah. So for me, like it was really important for me to start trying to not only get into real estate but try to manage our own company so I can have a real good a better understanding about the how to manage a property and how to bring a property where we want it to. I wanted to
Mhm,
be a little bit more in control as well at the same time. So I decided that was one of the things we decided to build our own property management company, start manage most of our own properties, and start learning through that. At the same time, it's also help us because now that we're running our own property management, if we do want to get a third party property management to manage our property, now we know what we're looking for because we've been doing it instead of just bring a property management company and let them take control without really know the ins and out of the property management business. So now that we've been doing it, we really know what we're looking for. And
mhm.
as much as getting the asset, it's important, but managing the asset is also so important. That's only one phase, like about acquiring the asset, but managing the asset and kind of managing the asset and like keep the asset in life. That's one of the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and once again, great points. Like beyond just the acquisition phase, as you mentioned, like the actual maintenance and um, state really like the stabilization of the asset is
Yes,
even more important thereafter, right?
exactly. Because
Yeah.
acquiring the asset is only the first step, and maintaining the asset, it's one of the most important thing in stabilizing the asset. That's the business at the end, and that's what pays at the end.
Mhm. Yeah, and so like, are there any specific questions like like somebody listening that might be considering looking for like leveraging property management services? Like, is there any specific questions you'd recommend they ask or think about?
Yeah, I'd say like knowing about the experience of the property management company that they're looking for would be one. How many doors they've been managing, and also what is the fee? What do they do and stuff? Because there's a lot of property management that not only they'll charge you a percentage of your rental, but then there'll be stuff that they charge a la carte, where just to go and change your light bulb, they might charge you $75 and stuff. When you know
Mm,
that light bulb is probably $3 to $4, and like
yeah.
a lot of questions because it can become really expensive at the end, and it can really become like take away some of your cash flow. So all of those little questions, do they have uh a different type of contractor in the Rolodex that they have access to, um, and what type of service are they giving? Do they go and bring some funds when they don't pay? Uh, will they align with what you want in terms of how you want them uh, to to move, and will they align with what you want? And those are the type of question you want to have a good relation with your property management, the person that manage your property. So those are the type of question I kind of would ask and to start with something like that.
Yeah, yeah, no, those are all great tips. And like, would you say there is different criteria between like property management on like a single family home versus like multis, like larger buildings?
Um, Because it's two different assets. So definitely, because the fact that it's two different assets, I would say yes, a company that's mostly used of doing residential, it's probably going to be a little bit different when they're going to do a commercial asset, because they're just two different type of assets, which a single family, it's usually easy for just the tenants to take care of the property, and the property management doesn't have to look at as much as what they would have to if they have a building, for example, to manage. So the managing a building is just require just a little bit more in-depth managing,
Hmm.
so I'd say there's a little difference.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You
Um,
definitely want to have a property management company that's been doing kind of a little bit of both, and
yeah,
that has experience in the commercial space.
definitely. Those are good points. And so, like, we've covered a ton so far already, but when you think about like your experiences thus far, like if you were to, and this is where we kind of like to get to know our guests a little bit more on a personal note, but if you were to like go back like in a time machine and like speak to your younger self, knowing like all of the things that you've experienced and done to date, like what advice would you give yourself? Um, and starting to invest in real estate sooner is not an option in terms of the answers. But like, yeah, like
Yeah.
what would you tell your younger self? Like for that person that had that ambition and was looking to embark on their real estate journey. But yeah, what tips would you give yourself?
Just take the leap. Just take the leap. Don't wait. Like, you will learn anyhow, and start taking the education sooner. Like, if I was younger and I knew there was all those education platform before, which I wasn't looking at the time, then I know it would have helped me. I've always believed in education, in coaching, and in the other business I've been into, I did always like use the coaching. So I would tell myself to just take a leap and just get started right away. And even though you make mistakes, you learn through your mistakes,
Love it.
and to not be afraid, and yeah.
Yeah, I love that
And
advice.
I'd probably start seeking education way sooner.
Hmm. Yeah, the education piece, I think, to your point, extremely important. And then really the networking and the action, like
Exactly.
those are even more important because a lot of people could get caught in the okay, like I'm building my knowledge, I'm watching the YouTube videos, listening to the show, like the great podcasts like this one, and learning a ton, but it's the actual application and the action
Ex-
that's usually missing, right?
exactly. And I would say as well, like, try to find also a coach that is where you want to be. and surround yourself better, like, because like when I was young, I probably didn't have the best entourage around me. So even though I was thinking business minded, but I had people around me that was kind of like rotten apple, and every
Yeah.
time it kind of blocked me from being where I wanted. And if I would have surrounded myself then with people that was like minded, then I'd probably be at a different place today.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's a great self-realization. And what's the term? Like, you are the was it the five people that
The
you're
average
around the
of the five
most?
people,
The
yeah,
average? Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
And I can definitely see that now. Now our entourage is different, and like I'm happy at the place that I am right now, and I'm just keep on growing mentally and
Awesome.
growing your business.
Awesome. Great. And so like to round out our conversation today, like when you think about like what's happening in the market, obviously very interesting time. Um, like what are some of your general observations on like what you're seeing in the market at a high level? And then like as you look ahead to the remainder of this year, like what are some of your like one or two kind of top goals that you could share with our listeners today?
But right now, like for what I see, like the market definitely changed since like the interest started going up. It did scare a lot of people, and a lot of people tends to have difficulty or stand back. But at the moment, like it's the time to buy. Like there's a lot of deals. Uh, Sellers are way more motivated. There's a way more creative way to start buying. You're getting better price, and like for me, like the way I see it, it's really the time to buy at the moment. And if there was something that I would suggest is for people to start like take a leap and start like looking and start really looking to hunt for deals, because in a couple years from now, like we don't have a long time. I feel like things are going to start creeping up again, and it's going to turn back to be a seller's market again. And
Mhm.
yeah, I do like what's going on at the moment. I buy in any market cycle. It's just differently the way that I approach it, different
Mhm.
depending on where the cycle is at. But it's definitely for me like an exciting time, and we're looking to. That's when we're growing our portfolio the most at the moment. Our portfolio is just growing and growing, and I think by the end of the year we want to be past 100 units if possible.
That's awesome. Well, we'll definitely have to have you back on to share once you once you get that, or even double it, right? So
Yeah, definitely. Like this year alone, like we've been able to 5x our real estate portfolio,
nice.
because every like we're finding that there's way more deal, and we're able to get better price on what we're looking for, make more sense of deals. I know that a lot of people have difficulty to find deals and make them work, but there is ways. People are a little bit more motivated right today. What I would say is that you don't find deals, you make the deals, so you have to
Yeah.
be able to negotiate the deals with realtors or sellers at the moment.
Yeah. The best deals are made. We always say that on this show.
Exactly.
I love that. Well, Andy, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate you sharing your experiences and insights with our listeners. And as I said, like we're gonna definitely have to get you back on in a future episode.
Definitely, I would love to. I
And
would love to share where I am. Excited to see. by the end of the year where I will be, but those are my goals at the moment. We got that on our vision boards, and every day we just meditating on that, and we're looking at other properties at the moment to add to our portfolio, and we're pretty confident that we can make it happen. We believe,
Love it. Love it. Well,
Thanks.
thanks again so much for joining.
Thanks
And
for having me.
yeah, and to our listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Black Wealth Effect podcast.